to the Old Man Orange Podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan, and I forgot how we do this shit.
I know, you came back from the other side, from the fatherland.
Well, I'm not sure, because are we going to use, like, the 20 minutes of fuzzy audio from that, you think? Are we going to do that?
I don't know. If anything, it might be a little special feature we throw on at the end of this episode.
Well, short and simple of it, folks. I'm not sure if it's going to go up before or after this, or if it's even going up at all.
Well, if it goes up, it goes up with this episode, so...
What?
If it goes up with this episode.
Yeah, it was a little staticky there. If it does go up, I was in Ireland, and my dad, short and simple of it, my dad was diagnosed with cancer, but he had his chemo, he went through chemo and came out of it all right, so to celebrate, my family's like, you know what, let's go to Ireland. You know, I've never been out of the country, and my mom and dad were already heading that way. They asked me if I wanted to go. I'm like, fuck yeah. So I just saved up some bucks.
I like how it's like you're like my mom and dad's already heading that way. Like, hey dad, where you going? Ireland? Oh, can I go? Well, shit, I guess. Like,
I was hoping to get away from you. Dad, we already live 3 hours away. Yeah, it's not enough.
Clearly, it's not enough. I need an extra 9-hour difference. And that's by plane, damn it.
Fuck. Look, at least he's not sitting on he's sitting on the same row, but it's in a different aisle. It's all okay.
Yeah, boy, when we go to the movie theaters, I don't want you sitting next to me. I don't want people to know that you're my kid. That's like an unloving father moment. Like the ghost, like no, you go sit down there. In fact, I don't.
That's okay. It's okay. You can. I'll see you at Thanksgiving. Yeah, I guess. All right. No, it's one of those things where went to Ireland, and I was there for about roughly a month. During that time, Spencer and we tried to record, and I brought my laptop with me, and I won't go into the whole thing, but essentially, it just was a huge clusterfuck, and for the reason Skype wasn't working, and the microphone I brought with me was jacked up, so we had 20 minutes, and it just kept on cutting out, so whatever, it happened, but it was, if we do get that, you'll hear me just being in the most optimistic mood, like, oh my god, I'm in another country, I've never done this before, I'm seeing the world, but at the same time, though, it's one of those things where, as soon as, like, we just went full monkey, like, as soon as, like, the power goes out, or as soon as, like, we talked about this before, as soon as technology goes bad, you just go, why's it not working? You just become just, like, this angry, just apish brute. Like, I honestly think, 2001 Space Odyssey, that black square thing from space, that might as well be an iPhone. They're all angry and like bashing with when it's not working right.
Yeah, exactly. You just go pure primal caveman. You resort to like what you've known for 10,000 plus years. Smashing and killing. But yeah, so you went to Ireland. Did you ever find Castle Dunigan? And your dad was all, okay, boy, I'm going to show you your origins here.
I guess my origins are there. My family, I guess on my dad's side, because my dad, everybody on my dad's side is actually...
He's like taking, he's like, here's your origins. Like, oh my god, we come from this castle? No, look over there to the right. There's just a restaurant called The Rock. Like, well, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Why is this over here in Ireland?
We're branching out. That's the real reason we're here. It's a business trip.
Yeah. So if anyone asks, it's a tax write-off.
No, actually, before we went to Ireland, we went to London for 3 days, and then Ireland. And I won't go into the whole vacation the whole time, because he wants to hear that. Then we went to the Cliffs of Moher, took some wonderful pictures. Then we did a like your slideshow. Yeah, I don't want it to be that, but I'll just mention a few funny things. So we went on while we were in London. We went on this rock and roll tour. It was this bus tour. Yeah, it was the total touristy thing to do, but hop on this bus and it basically plays rock music and it goes through different parts of London with rock and roll history. So obviously a lot of Beatles, obviously a lot of Rolling Stones, a little bit of Pink Floyd, some Who, a little bit of Sex Pistols and The Clash. And So when we were coming up to this, there's a line in Can't Get No Satisfaction about where Mick Jagger says, I go down to Chelsea's and I can't get the same cigarette. Something about getting cigarettes at Chelsea's, which is a chain around there. And he was specifically talking about this one particular Chelsea's at this one street. And God, what was it? I'm already forgetting what part of town it was, but it was Kinsdale, I think. But anyway, no, that's a fucking town in Ireland. What am I saying? Anyway, it was this particular part of London. So he's like saying, now this is where Mick Jagger, this is the store he was talking about when he was talking about going to get cigarettes. This is where he'd always come. And Johnny Rotten heard that and really liked that. So that kind of started the punk rock movement. And a lot of punk rockers started hanging out here, buying their cigarettes here, because Johnny Rotten liked that song by the Stones, and all the punk rockers liked Johnny Rotten. So that's where it started. Now it's a McDonald's.
Oh, it's like how the times have changed. Goes to show, it wasn't that important of a landmark.
Well, you find out what even makes it even sadder, because you're going down. He's given all this different, interesting rock history. But at some point, we're going down to what used to be the Apple Studios. You know, you're going down there where, you know, Beatles' old recording studio is. And, you know, when there's that whole story about their last concert when they were playing on the roof of that. And they were playing, it was right when they were recording Let It Be. And people are just out there partying in the street because, you know, the Beatles are up there like, they never fucking perform. And, you know, you have people leaving their offices, just going out there and partying. And you had, you know, some, you know, old constables like, oh, get those boys down there, those mafia boys, get them down. You know, and then you get all the young cops that kind of like, oh, sorry, officer, we can't find the plug to unplug it. You know, and there's apparently one of them literally hid the plug over the outlet because he was trying to dance with some girl there. And, you know, so it's just this whole, like, uplifting story about this whole neighborhood stopped and partied. Everything what they were doing just to listen to the Beatles. There had to be, like, the 1, 2, or 3 shopkeepers there, arms crossed, like, it was a good business day, and the fucking Beatles had to sing about some bullshit about all you need is love. All you need to do is pay the fucking rent. That happens when you get commerce. But no, anyway, we drove past that, and, now that's an Abercrombie and Finch for kids.
Oh, wow. Like, yeah, it couldn't even just be an Abercrombie and Finch. It had to be for kids. Just to put that extra nail at the coffin.
Yeah.
So what you learned is that England obviously does not care about their heritage when it comes to rock music.
They cared more as time went on. At the time, it was one of those things like, whatever, these, you know, old, you know, it was just one of those things at the time they didn't care. I mean, they had Beatles and Stones shit everywhere there. I mean, I didn't know this before going there, but oh God, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on his name. Bill Wyman of the Stones. After he retired, he had a bunch of Rolling Stones memorabilia laying around. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to open myself up. I don't know, I'm giving him that kind of voice. But he says, I'm going to open myself up a restaurant. And it's called Sticky Fingers. And I didn't have a chance to eat there. But it was just kind of like, it was sort of like a smaller hard rock cafe. But of mostly, not all, but mostly exclusive stuff from Bill Wyman's collection and different Rolling Stones memorabilia. A bunch of his different, like, you know, some different guitars and basses up there, and, you know, like, oh, look, here's a family photo of me and the Stones, you know, so just random stuff like that. And I was kind of wondering if you walk through there, if, like, because apparently the guy said, there's a screensaver on the screen of Bill Wyman looking at him, so I guess it's one of those things to make sure the employees aren't stealing money from the till or whatever. I'm like, is he going to do like the Scooby-Doo thing? Like if you walk past a poster of him, do the eyes follow you or some shit?
I know, that's what they should have had. That would have been awesome. Make kind of like a haunted house. Just partially haunted, nothing too much.
Wanna know all you gotta do? Look at some drawings of Mick. You don't even have to go full tilt haunted. You could just have like one recreation of something. Look at some of the old pictures you have of like whenever someone would do a cartoon of Mick Jagger. Bill Wyman put out this book, The Stones, A History in Cartoons. And it's basically kind of covering, they'll show a little cartoon strip, whether it be, you know, from like, oh, look, here's some little cartoon we did to help promote one of our albums back in, you know, the 70s or the 60s. Or here's just some little tabloid cartoon they made poking fun at us. And he just kind of gives a little bit of history behind each one. A lot of them, as they go on later, when they first start off, it's a lot of just like, oh, these long-haired working class fucks. What are they doing here? But then as it goes on, it becomes much more, Mick Jagger becomes a lot more famous. A lot of the illustrations of him are just these disgusting pair of like flappy lips and like this old, crinkly old man body. And all you gotta do is recreate one of those illustrations and have that thing running through the haunted house, and that'll be the creepiest thing ever.
Yeah, exactly. With just like
it'll be
sort of Stones music playing in the background.
Like, well, it wouldn't just be like a standard Rolling Stones song. It would have to be something off like a really random, like offbeat song, like Her Majesty Satanic, like we wish we were Sergeant Pepper's album, yeah. Which I'm pretty sure I think you said this. I'm pretty sure what happened with that album is like I'm pretty sure like Mick or Keith just came running down the street right to their studio where they all hang out and sleep out apparently, and just bust in like, guys, I just got back from John's place. We gotta do this shit. They're taking their time with it. We could bang this shit out in 2 weeks.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure that's 100% what that album was. It was probably like, like that episode of South Park where like Butters is always running down the hall and it's got like a special camera angle on him and he's always telling something that's not really that important until the very end. I just picture like, just like Mick just running down a hall like tick, 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 like where's he going? And then he just kicks the door in.
I imagine that exactly. Sorry, it's getting a little crackly here at the
audio. Oh yeah, and I remember that episode. That's the episode where like they're like the preschoolers are going to put on or like the kindergartners are going to put on the best play ever, and Butters is just like amping up the kindergartners play, and then it turns out to be just nothing important.
It's like, we can't be outdone by the preschoolers, and he just keeps on coming in. They just see it. They just like, it's like they had a little like firecracker thing. One kid runs off stage crying.
Yeah. But he says, they got lights and explosions and fire and all kinds of stuff.
It's an extravaganza for the eyes to behold. Yeah, no, but like it was one of those things where if you listen to that album, but so after when I was in London, it was just kind of like a very much more of a checklist of, oh, let's go here, let's go there, and see all just seeing the big sites via bus and on like Lyfts and like or Ubers and all that. When we got to Ireland though, I was only in London for 3 days, but Ireland was there for roughly like little over like a week and change, and that was a great time. And I'm not going to go over that whole thing. Then we did this, then we did that, because no funny stories. It was just a good time. So yeah.
Nice. Well, that's always just cool in itself, though. Just like being able to like go somewhere different and hang out. I don't know. Something nice about just having change in life. It just only inspires you to kind of create more stuff and get more things done and almost like see what else is out there and see if something's better. You should have went over there and did the mutual betting. That's like that's what I think about when I think of Ireland, England, and Australia. Is being able to do that mutual betting and having freedom like that and not getting taxed on it.
There's so many places you can just walk in and they had a couple of TVs going on there, and there's like 3 people in there watching this TV with like, little machines you go up to and bet on a game or something like that.
Oh, they got that kind of stuff there too.
It's like some of the stuff is automated now.
Huh.
Everything there though is better. Oh, here's one little thing I wanted to mention to you.
That's not what the Republicans want to tell us.
No, but here's something right here that's better that I know that you would like, and I would have almost brought it back, but I wasn't sure it wasn't gonna be my carry-on, and I thought it was gonna maybe explode being pressurized or something. But there's like this drink there called like this energy drink that's kind of like Nero, Nero or whatever they are.
Yeah,
and it's called like I think it's called like Elilade or Energade or something Aid. Euroaid. And they had a special edition version called Lara Aid, because Tomb Raider's big as fuck there still. So, and I was like, I know Spencer
wondered what Tomb Raider was like in England. I know it's made by English people, but sometimes it's kind of weird how those things are, where like, the place that like it originates from is not always the biggest one. And I always just kind of wondered, I almost use Craig as an example from Indie Comics Club, because like I just kind of asked him, like, Tomb Raider. I just kind of like name drop it in there to see if it like triggers anything. It's like it didn't trigger anything. Maybe it's not that popular over there.
Well, I should have. I didn't reach out to. Well, I mean, I think Craig was in a way different area than I was in. I should have probably reached. If I had more time, I probably would have reached out to Ian Brown of the Bruvs. But yeah. But I think Ian. He's like not near London. I don't know why I said Ian. Craig. I don't think he's.
Yeah, I think
London,
he's a little bit farther
so, yeah.
north.
Oh, one thing I actually do want to mention, and I feel really shitty about this kind of, and it didn't get any likes, so I'm like, whatever, nothing I'll lose sleep over. But at the same time, like, I guess people didn't really, people thought it was kind of tasteless themselves. Like, I guess it's kind of tasteless. We went by in that rock tour. We went and did the Abbey Road thing. We got to go to Abbey Road, and there's a lot of they have to paint like the wall, because you got people riding on that wall all day, and the guy even gave you pins you can write on the wall, even though they're probably gonna paint over it within like a month after it gets too filled up.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, you know what? I'm here. Why not? I'm gonna do some shameless promotion, and I drew our Orange. Well, I drew Old Man Orange, the character, and they just wrote OMO. I didn't write .com or nothing like that, but it felt. I'll be honest. I was like, I'm doing this in one of the most important musical places ever, but at the same time, right at Abbey Road Studios. But I'm like, I'm already here. Fuck it. When's the next chance I'm going to get? I mean, it's not like I'm doing it. I mean, I guess if they had something like that, like the 9/11 memorial, it's like, you know what else you should never forget? Well, you also should.
They put that the 9/11. Okay, come here, kids. Put up your own graffiti for 9/11.
Or names of people to remember. Like, I'll never forget Old Man Orange. Like something just very tasteless.
Yeah, it's like, well, I guess that's an important. Maybe that's just a code name, kind of like Agent Orange in Vietnam.
Yeah. We're just even write in now with 3 podcasts, a comic, and an upcoming audio drama series.
So just funny, all kinds of ads carved in.
Right next to something like, "We miss you, sweetie." Yeah,
well, you never know. It's
it's not as tasteless
Abbey Road,
as that.
Though. Well, Abbey Road sounds like that's part of the thing is to sign your name and stuff like that and put whatever the hell you want.
Yeah,
probably there's a lot of dicks that get drawn there if I had to guess, but.
Oh, there probably is a couple of dicks. I guarantee it. I didn't look. I was just like, I'm just gonna focus on me. I have a little picture of it on our Facebook with kind of like a picture of it. Then it zooms out with it circled. Like, oh, there it is. If you care to go by, if you have any listeners in London, you could see my horrible fucking scribble on an important piece of history. So.
Exactly. God damn it. Got to mark that there. You know what I mean? For a future
until it gets painted over. It's probably already painted over. People go there every day.
Yeah, they probably come by every week and just go, guy has a job, takes care of it, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I'm really bummed that they don't have those Lara Croft drinks over here, though, now that you mentioned that. Oh, that's all I can think of. It's like, what? Why is that not here? I see fucking Call of Duty 4, or for fucking Call of Duty Black Ops 4, but no fucking Lara Croft. Blasphemy, damn it.
It was really good, actually. There's I'll say this, in LA, and I was in London long enough to try it out, but in Ireland, all the food is better. If you're having anything meat or dairy, it is fucking better.
Yeah, well, that's because also
even
they have no
GMOs
better. Over in that area, so there's always that for clarification.
Oh yeah, I know. I was looking at the back of some labels. Like, oh, I know what that is. That sounds healthy. So. Yeah.
Now, how much does it cost for everything comparative price, though? That's always the question.
Well, price-wise, I mean, if you just looked at it in euros, it seemed fine. But if you were doing it, from the math, it was 16 cents to the dollar. So, I mean, if you just looked at it, 145 or 160 for an energy drink. Or something like that. Oh, that makes sense. But then you think, oh, to the dollar right now, add 16 cents to each dollar. So it was kind of like that. So it was one of those things. I was really wasn't doing a lot of spending while I was there.
Yeah, exactly. But I was just kind of wondering more price wise of meat and stuff like that. If it was much more expensive than the U.S. and so on.
We didn't really, I'll be honest, most of the time we were eating out, so, I mean, some restaurants we went to were a little fancier, some were, a little bit more, chill, a little bit more casual, but even the casual ones were still, like, the food was still a lot better than some of the food here because they don't fuck with it.
Huh, that's interesting kind of how it is and so on. Just, it's amazing how that can make kind of a difference. Well, it's like so many restaurants in like the U.S. too. It's like sometimes they'll cheapen out on the certain foods they get. And then you got that kind of problem too. And, especially some fancy restaurants do that exact same thing and then charge, sky high prices.
Well, it's one of those things where, I mean, a lot of places, I'm not even trying to talk shit on American, on like on all restaurants.
Like, fuck it, I'm never coming back.
I'm tempted to go back. I mean, I definitely want to go back and visit again, but I'm tempted to like possibly move there. Granted, I was staying in Galway, which is a really cool town. We were in Galway, then this small town called Adair, which is more of like a little nice, pretty retirement community. Not a lot there, but we use it more of a place to stay. Then kind of go out to places around it, then go back at the end of the day. And then went to Dublin near the end of the trip. But it's one of those things, food-wise. How do I put this? Like, well, there, I guess it's a much small. I mean, this is just me guessing, just assuming, but it's a much smaller country, so I'm assuming you don't have to travel meat and food as long, and so much of their population is farming. They have so much farming there, so
yeah, it's probably just like all like having, in a sense, like if you're in the U.S., it'd be equivalent of just having a bunch of like organic, grass-fed beef everywhere, because that's all it is. I don't think they even have corn-fed beef over in that area.
Yeah, that's kind of how I mean, most of the time I was either eating steak or salmon. So, and they're right, a lot of places we were at were right by the water. So I had some of the best salmon I ever had before. So, yeah, and I'm not going to become one of those people who's just going in with a man bun like, oh, let me tell you about my trip. We meditated by a waterfall. It was a very spiritual experience. Let me tell you, it was so spiritual, I wept while doing the crane pose. Yeah. Then I went out and had some herbal tea. I'm not gonna, yeah. I'm always, that's when, like, people are like, let's take a picture. I'm like, no, I don't want to be one of those people taking 1,000 fucking pictures. I took, like, this one picture in Dublin, looked really cool. I wasn't in it, but it was just, like, this tower with this red neon, not sign, but these red neon lights around it. And the moon happened to be there. It almost looked like something, like, out of, like, it reminded me of Final Fantasy VII, so I took a picture of that.
Like the Shinra building or something like that.
It looks kind of like the Shinra. If anyone's followed my Instagram, yeah, it looks kind of like the Shinra building.
Huh, interesting. That sounds kind of cool. Yeah, that's always the kind of feel, too. I think it's best in life sometimes when it comes down to photos is to keep them just very limited. And mainly just the fact that I feel like the more, like, photos and videos and things that you take, the less experience you have with where you actually are. You know what I mean? There's something to be said about just...
people are more absorbed...
I was gonna say, there's something to be said about just enjoying the moment for what it is. I mean, I guess unless you're trying to make money off of what you're doing, I guess that's different. Not gonna tell somebody that they can't make money, but, beyond that, though, I think if you like you are somewhere, there's something to be said just like, no, just like enjoy it for what it is, take it in, absorb it into your memory. That's the most important thing.
My mom was trying to take a couple pictures of us so-and-so every so often, and I almost had this thing where I didn't do it, but I almost considered doing this thing where, like, because this is how like dumb I am. We're driving along. What's one of the most interesting things about Ireland is you drive along, and there's so many just medieval castles and parts of old buildings that are just destroyed and left over, and that's just part of some guy's backyard, Yeah. Or it's in the middle of town. They just built around it, and that's just really cool. And for, like, half a second, I thought, oh, they ripped off Zelda.
Uh-huh.
I just thought, just for half a second, they ripped off Zelda. So, it was one of those things.
That was the part that crossed your mind. It was like, wait a second here. I've seen this.
For half a second, then I'm like, oh, wait, no, it's the other way around.
Well, I guess it's kind of like California. They got, I mean, it's not nearly as old, but you get those like old gold mining buildings and so on that are just kind of left there and just kind of, that's what it is. Nobody does anything with them.
I guess I'm used to that. I guess I'm used to like going around, certain parts of California. Or I guess if you go more down south, you might see some old relics of, Spanish
missionaries and so on.
Yeah, missionaries and Alamo, that kind of stuff. So it's one of those things where you're kind of used to that, but that's not nearly as old as this other shit.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
And just seeing this old ancient BC castle partially submerged in the ground and just sticking out, and seeing that's in front of some farmer's property, no, it's no big deal. So it's one of those
just
things.
A mobile home just moved over onto it, just whatever.
The kids put up a zip line there.
It's it makes you wonder how Lord Van Dugan would think about that 2,000 years later or 1,000 years later, whatever it be. You're oh yeah, in the future in your land, a peasant will put his mobile home on it and take a shit on your castle every night when he gets too drunk and rowdy.
Eventually, the kids will put up a slip line too. Well, there's also we went to the Blarney. I'll stop talking about it just after this. But there's this other thing at the Blarney Castle, which is this old, this old castle, and there's this whole thing about you go up to the very top of it, and they kind of lay you back on this thing. You have to hold on this bar, and you're kind of sort of over this ledge. Where there's two guys holding you, and you're supposed to kiss part of the stone. And that's supposed to give you good luck.
When you explain like this, what is it? There's two guys holding you over a ledge, and you're supposed to kiss a stone.
So it's okay. So you go to the top of this castle, and there's kind of this hole. There's kind of this hole where there shouldn't be a hole, but there's a fucking hole. And then there's a bar, an old rusty as fuck metal bar you can grab onto. And then you kind of lean back and kiss underneath this part of this ledge. And you're kind of out looking across part of the landscape, and two people hold you there so you don't fall down, but you're still, 6 stories up over a fucking hole, holding onto a rusty fucking pole, and trying to kiss a fucking stone, which someone's pissed on at least once.
Well, you don't know what the guy before you who kissed that stone had.
Yeah, so it's one of those things, we get up there, I'm I don't need to kiss the fucking stone. We got up, I got a good view, I saw some ancient shit, and
it wasn't those two guys were kiss the fucking stone. Oh, I don't want to kiss the stone. No, kiss the fucking stone. Don't make us hold you farther over the edge here.
Just suddenly turns into a Martin McDonough movie. Kiss the fucking stone!
Can you believe it? This lad right here doesn't want to kiss the fucking stone. I don't want to kiss the stone.
He came all the way up here for what?
Who knows who kissed it before that? Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. You're going to hang over there and you're going to kiss the fucking stone because that is a fucking tradition.
You fucking cunt. All you Americans are the same.
Oh, I just want to go back to America where it's safe and they don't make you kiss things that you don't want to.
You're not in America anymore, Boyle. You're a long ways away. You're in Barney's castle now.
Oh.
There's only one way down from here.
And it's not the stairs.
No, but I think you know what it is. And I just imagine it'll be so much more frightening if it's Brendan Gleeson and he has that fucked up eye from Harry Potter as he's telling you this.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Fuck, Brendan Gleeson, anything's intimidating. Even when he's a nice guy, he's intimidating as fuck.
Oh, totally. Definitely.
What?
I said totally, most definitely.
So, yeah, that was me traveling around. And while I was there, though, this was this last day there. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to maybe go. It's my last day here. I might just go to a bar and take it easy and, just absorb the scenery one more time. Go look at some of the nice architecture. And then I was browsing, and I feel almost very bad. This was my goal on the last day. But I was browsing online, and we're kind of late to the party on this, but there's that DC Black Label, and they put out that Batman book, Damned.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm reading about it, and there's this thing about genital rights group is mad at Batman. I'm like, what? So I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I go on, I click on that.
Damn it.
Yeah, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And all of a sudden, it's just one of these things of oh yeah, so some general rights activists are mad because Batman is circumcised, and they view like, all right, well, we're kind of brushing over that. They show Batman's fucking dick. Yeah, they show Batman's dick. Anyway, he's circumcised. No.
Well, he's Jewish. That's how I always view it. Just like Superman, he comes from the planet Krypton. Which
yeah, but it's just one of those things like, oh, they show Batman's dick. I'm like, they show his dick, huh? And then they're like, yeah, and here's the thing. They, a lot of people are mad at the book, so they're only printing it just this once, and if they reprint it, it's gonna be censored. I'm like, what the fuck? And it's not one of those things like, I need Bat Dick! But it's one of those things, I'm mad that somebody who I know doesn't give a fuck about this shit can say what I can and can't watch or read in this situation.
Exactly.
So, it's one of those things, like, you barely see it. You barely even see it. But it's enough to tell, oh, he's circumcised. Like, oh, really? A fucking millionaire? Billionaire who's probably in his, I don't know, let's just lowball it in this particular comic, mid-30s, isn't circumcised? Huh, So, it's like...
Yeah, I don't know. It's like those ones, like, obviously they didn't bring up that big of a deal when, like, Wonder Woman was, like, had that nipple out, like, when she was breastfeeding in that Frank Miller book.
Well, I guess
that was fucking, like, that was, like, one of those moments where, like, I went past it and I was like, wait a fucking second, is that what was just there?
Was that a Wonder nipple?
Yeah, it was a Wonder nipple. So now we got the
Bat
Bat
I was
dick.
surprised about that, too. Now we got the Bat, no one made a single fucking fuss about that. And I read some reviews are just being kind of like, it just seems like it's, or like, now we can have the, I think, okay, if you want to have the debate of like whether you should or shouldn't get your kids circumcised this day and age, okay, I mean, I think it's...
Now, does that only happen with Jewish people, really, at the end of the day? Because I've never heard of it outside of a Jewish community.
I don't know. It's some of those things I've heard recently about people getting, like, fucking... getting mad about being circumcised or whatever. Like, people mad now that I mean, I've heard, like, Joe Rogan talk about how circumcision is weird, and if he had his son, he'd second-guess it, and, like, I understand that, and might be too much information. There's a dude who's circumcised, I don't really give a fuck, but it's one of those things where it's also, like, I think now, if you want to have that conversation, should we or shouldn't we, I think it's fine, but it seems weird to be mad at, I mean, let's be realistic, a guy probably in his 30s or 40s who is circumcised, you're surprised about that shit?
Well, to me, it's just weird because it's like I've only really heard about it with Jewish communities, so it seems odd. Like when you hear about other stuff, maybe it happens with Middle Eastern communities and so on too. Like anybody from like the Middle Earth area of the world, but that's what always seems like a weird one because it's like that, and it's. I mean, for Batman, it makes once again. I guess it's creator's Jewish, makes sense. It's just like Superman. I feel like they're Jewish. I mean, I don't know what's such a big uproar about it, or I don't know. It's weird. I don't get
People
it.
are just freaking out that it's like, ew, it's gross.
Ew, it's a Jewish penis. Oh. I don't know. It's like...
I don't know, but... And now it's just one of those things where I'm just like, I'm kind of mad because DC buckled down, and they're just like, really? You buckled down to this shit?
I don't know.
You're doing a book about like some weird horror story about the Joker getting murdered, and you're buckling down to this?
I don't know. It's just that...
Anyway...
It's just one of those ones. Those fucking like leftists come in and then just want to like censor all this shit nowadays, and it's just getting to the point where, no, I don't know. I mean, I'm waiting for the dam to break where people just say, "Fuck it, we're gonna do whatever we want. We're gonna say whatever the fuck we want, and you can't tell us what we can do."
It's like all the people who always make these kind of make a big uproar about every little thing like this. Like, asshole, this is why Trump won.
This is literally why Trump. That was 100% why Trump won. Is because people were sick and tired of these fucking social justice warriors and these stupid like leftists that don't have any education and just keep shouting out things based on emotion and not logic. That is what happens because everybody else goes, well, fuck it, that's definitely not what I want, so I'm going to go the exact opposite direction. Even if it looks like it could be like a car accident waiting to happen, at least it's an honest car accident waiting to happen. At least, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so going back to, I got a little off topic there. So it was one of those things where for the last day in Dublin, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go just intake the scenery and just walk around. But then once I heard about that book, I pulled out Google Maps, and there were like 4 comic book stores in Dublin within walking distance. And I was on a fucking mission. And you know what? They were all sold out. And I'm surprised that Dublin is that much of a comic book town. I mean, it's one of those things like, I know it's bigger. I know that, superheroes, even though they start off in America, they've kind of branched out to more, but they had 4 fairly big comic book stores in Dublin. And I was within walking distance of me. And I hit up like maybe 3 of them just on this mission looking for this fucking book. And they're like, oh, sorry. Like, oh, sorry, no luck here. They might reprint it, they might not. They're saying they won't, though. So, I had a very nice chat with one. There's one place I stopped to, and we were starting to talk about Tom King's run on Batman. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna miss this dude. I've only talked to this dude for 5 minutes, but if I lived in Dublin, this is my comic book store I'd come to, because this dude is fun to bullshit with.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like I grabbed that digital copy of it before like they all went away or whatnot, so at least got something.
I mean, the short and simple of it, I guess we can kind of talk about it. I mean, the short and simple of it.
I felt bad. I haven't read it yet, actually.
Oh, you haven't read it? Okay. Well, I mean, I want to give you a heads up.
Because
digital copy you have is still censored. I mean, they still say, yeah. Well, because I saw the original panel, and it's still censored. It's one of those things where, I mean, they still say like shit and bastard and maybe even fuck, and there's still like blood and still this really harsh R. But oh no, we can't see the bat dick. No, not the circumcised evil.
It's so weird because that would have came straight from like a original print. That's odd, huh?
Yep.
Because I made sure not to get it off of Comixology or anything like that, just so we couldn't get that.
It was still a fun read. I'm curious to know where it goes. But sorry, what?
Oh, nothing. I was just kind of talking about that, but yeah, I guess. But I guess since we're getting close to wrapping this one up, we can talk about that movie that was like taking the time travel.
Oh, actually, before we even do that, have you heard the James Gunn news?
No, I didn't hear any James Gunn news.
It makes total sense. At the same time, I hope DC don't fuck this up, or not even DC, Warner Brothers, because they have a problem of stepping in.
Is he doing Suicide Squad 2? Is that what it is?
They're mentioning it. There's talking about it. There's nothing set in stone, but they're talking about him doing Suicide Squad 2.
That could be kind of cool. I mean, like, I'm glad that they actually are committing to just doing the sequel to it. Because that's something that always bothers me. It's like when they have a movie that maybe isn't like the greatest movie ever. Not bad, but not the greatest. And then they just like, oh, fuck it, give up. Let's not do it again. Because here's the thing. The sequel, you can fix all those problems and like come back around with an amazing movie. But I don't know why they sometimes just give up before it's even started. So that's cool.
Well, it already seems... Well, I mean, Justice League, whether you like or dislike Justice League already seemed to kind of re-steer them to go in a different direction. And then on top of that, they got Wonder Woman coming out, Wonder Woman 2, which is going to be in the 80s, and that sounds interesting. And then they're doing Aquaman and Shazam, which look like they're kind of going in more of a lighthearted direction, which I think for those characters is fine.
Well, and Aquaman looks badass. The Shazam trailer, it's interesting. I don't know, it's like... It feels very Marvel, that Shazam one. I mean, like, no matter what, it's DC and it's Shazam, so I'll be there no matter what. But I will say it looks like they're trying to go a little bit hard on the comedy, so I'm getting a little bit iffy with that. Because the whole reason why a lot of times people like DC is because they are serious. The second you start taking that away and you start going with the other guy's thing, you know what I mean?
Well, I'll say depends on the character, and I don't know enough about Shazam, but I'm going to say the idea of a kid getting powers, I think it would be something kind of like that. I don't think you need to make something like the duality, the weight of the world on the shoulders of a 13-year-old boy, and the power of a god. What would he do? How would he act? And I mean, I don't think we need that.
I'm not saying like that, but I mean, like, I think, yeah, definitely Shazam is, if you are going to put comedy, that is fine, but my worry is you put it in one and it does really well, and then it affects the others. That's the scary part always. It's like a virus almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy is a perfect example. It's fine in Guardians of the Galaxy, but it spread into the other ones, and then they started getting funnier and funnier to the point where like it was not funny anymore.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is if this one leans hard on comedy, I'm kind of expecting that from the trailer, and I'm like, all right, let's just see how this one turns out. Hopefully it turns out good. Hopefully you just don't lean too hard into it in the other movies. It doesn't look like Aquaman's going to do that, but still, It looks like they're just trying to lighten things up a little bit. So, which, depending on the character, I think that's fine. And then they got to find a new Batman and a new Superman, apparently. So, but yeah, but going over back to time travel into 2003 or 2004 with Venom.
Yeah, that was kind of the interesting thing about it. I mean, like, granted, I'll say this, it looked kind of exactly like the trailer said. And it wasn't like it was not a bad movie, but it was just one of those movies that felt like, it just felt like this movie just, like, was made, like, a long time ago, and they're just like, oh, shit, we better release that. Like, that's just been sitting in the closet this whole time.
I'll be honest, I didn't hit... Oh, sorry, go ahead. Sorry, this is really staticky. I cut you off there, sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, you can just go whatever you're gonna say.
I was gonna say, I didn't hate the movie, but I didn't really like it. It was kind of... I mean... I'm kind of at this point now, there's so many superhero movies out there, and I'll probably see most of them. It's kind of like I eventually saw Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I walked out of that thinking, you know what, it wasn't a bad movie, but I probably need to see it in theaters. I could have waited for that one for Netflix or whatever.
Exactly.
Just because it just seemed, it was trying too hard to be funny, and it wasn't a horrible or bad movie, but it was probably like, it was just a little, fun little silly action movie that had just, I probably could have waited for Netflix on that one. This one, I honestly, if I missed out on Venom, I don't think I really been missing a whole lot, because it was just kind of, I felt like I've seen this movie before, and the whole thing about it is, it's kind of like, I mean, yeah, you could say the whole thing about like, oh, they're just trying to backdoor into the Marvel Cinematic Universe without actually paying Marvel anything for it. But at the exact same time, it doesn't feel like it's part of that, and at the other same time, it just feels like the whole thing with Venom is he bites people's heads off and he eats their brains. And I know there's more to him than that, I guess, but that's kind of his shtick. And the second you make that PG-13, I mean, you could have a cutaway of him biting a person's head off if he's the villain in a Spider-Man movie, that's fine. But if he's the main character, I mean, that's kind of what you show.
Yeah, they should have went Deadpool Logan with this one. I felt like that was kind of silly not to do that. And I don't know what it was. It's one of those ones like Tom Hardy. It's like, that's a fine choice, but I don't know what it is. Every once in a while, Tom Hardy just gets the idea that he's going to do fucking weird acting. He sounds like he's Adam Sandler trying to play the Rocky role in this movie, and it's fucking weird. But like, I don't know what he was going for, because it makes his character sound like he was like halfway retarded. And like, how does Eddie Brock even get any of these jobs? It looks like he can barely handle himself or anything around him. Like, and he's always like mumbling and talking to himself. It's just like, he's so goofy.
He wasn't bad to me, but at the exact same time,
he wasn't bad, but it was just like, it was such a weird choice to go with. That's all I have to say. It was like, well, who's his acting coach? Adam Sandler? What's going on here?
I guess I know that by this point Venom's an anti-hero, and as time went on, he became less of a villain and more of just like this difficult guy to work with every so often. But I still don't think of, but I guess in my mind I'm still so used to him being a villain, so I'm like, all right, I'll have to look past that. But at the exact same time, Eddie Brock never seemed like some like just maybe he was, maybe they had some comic that went back and retconned it, but he always seemed more of like this guy who had a tragic past, but it was more of him just trying to take shortcuts and cut ahead, and just the whole, I mean, don't get me wrong, he's worlds better than Topher Grace. That's not really a high bar, but to pass. But I don't know. It was just the silliest fuck movie. It was just really fucking silly.
Well, I'll say this actually, for they give Topher Grace credit. Now, Topher Grace, if you just include his body and you just kind of like picture his acting, because like I will say that Topher Grace's acting feels more like kind of that Eddie Brock, where Eddie Brock comes like he always felt like he sort of comes across as like the tragic version, but of like Gary to Ash almost, and that's almost like how he is. He's the rival of Spider-Man more than anything else, and he's kind of He's not like a bad guy, but he'll do shady things to try to get ahead. And this one tried to make it out like he was just, good old American guy just trying to, fight the system and everything like that. And you know what? And then it had like this pro-hobo kind of thing going on. I was like, fuck that pro-hobo thing. That must be from somebody who's not from California, because it's an epidemic here. You know what? And if some guy wants to take a bunch of hobos to his like mysterious base across from like the Golden Gate Park for, research and studying, I am 100% fine with that, because here's the thing. people are clearly fine of rats and, bunnies and all this kind of stuff. What's the difference? You know what I mean?
Well, the whole hobo thing, that was like, this whole thing like, man, I had to move to this shitty apartment, and I'm giving a homeless person $20. Like, you're giving a homeless person $20 in San Francisco?
Yeah, fuck
what the fuck?
They're just gonna spend that on drugs. You can't trust those homeless people. I don't know, like, that part was weird to me. It's like, no, don't try to give me this, like, pro-homeless thing. Like, who the fuck decided to put that in there?
Well, my thing is, I mean, I'll say this. I mean, you're like, what? Sorry, you're really staticky right here, and I'm catching parts of it, but I think I got the gist of it. Whole thing with the homeless thing is, I mean, I don't want to make any big, broad, over generalizations. There's actually some homeless people I've met back when I used to work in my bike job that would always kind of walk by that were cool and never really hassle me. And they're like, hey, man, what's up? They're just like, what are they doing? They're just living off the grid. They're not bothering nobody. They're just, they won't make a scene. They won't do nothing. But then you get those ones that are very like, dude, get the fuck out of my face. Dude, just, you know what I mean? You do reach that point with some where they're so, like, aggressive or so, like, fuck you, man, this is my town. This is where I live here. I live on the street. You get some of those guys, and that's where you get, like, oh, dude, fuck off.
Oh, yeah, so, I'm not saying that, like, everybody's bad, but it is still, like, it's a problem that, like, they put themselves into generally. Now, I'd say 90% of the time, they put themselves into that kind of problem, you know what I mean? And then they expect, the system to fucking take care of them, and I say, fuck that. I just don't believe it's not my fault that you fucked up. You know what I mean? And I don't think that any of us need to, take care of you because of that. I know that sounds like such harsh things, but I want Venom to go around town fucking eating you guys in the middle of the night. You know what? Because he's got to eat somebody.
Well, that's funny you mention that, because in Ultimate Spider-Man, that was like, I want to say that's a couple panels when he first became Venom. He went around like there's a scene and like, not the first Venom arc, but one of the Venom arcs, there's the scene where you see Eddie Brock just sitting on this bench and he's telling his story. And every time it cuts over to somebody on the bench with him, it's a different person. You see like a little old lady, you see a homeless dude, you see some like, like college like girl joggers and all that, and you see like this old dude he's talking to, and then when it gets to the last one, it's this old guy, and he's like, wait, so that was you that was fighting Spider-Man? And he just looks at him, he turns to the Venom, just eats the guy right there, goes back to normal. Like, yeah. Like, he's just waiting there at this bench, devouring whoever comes by and listens to him. And that was like a really cool first issue to that arc. And the way they did Ultimate Venom, which I think is what they're trying to sort of do with Ultimate Spider-Man, is they were childhood friends, and he wasn't like a bad guy, but he was this he was a little older than Peter. Like Eddie and Peter's dad worked together, and they kind of met up, and he was more of like kind of like opposite Peter to an extent. Like he wasn't some big brawly buff guy. He was like a guy who was a little bit more like Peter, just in college, and kind of went a little bit the other way. Mm-hmm. Where I'm used to thinking of Venom as like Eddie. I mean, I think what's his name? Tom Hardy. I think is a great choice, but just something. Not even so much his. I don't know. He just didn't seem like Eddie Brock to me. That's all.
Yeah,
it was.
he just it's just kind of like, I think it's one of the ones like they had a hard time going like, well, we can't sell this because the guy is like sort of a villain. Let's make him like a real good guy, and it's just, I don't know. It's one of those movies. It's like, it's not a bad movie. Like I was never like one of those ones like, oh, this is terrible. It was just, if this one came out in 2003, I probably would have gave it like yeah, okay, cool. I would have gave it like more of a pass. But kind of now the bar has sort of been raised, and it's like it's like a one-time watcher. Oh, I say, well, that's probably a good place to wrap up then, since it just cut us off. No, it's not a bad movie. It's just total middle of the road. It's like, it's in the same category as Ant-Man and the Wasp. That's how I feel. It's like that same boat of like, if you never saw the movie, you're not missing out on anything. But if you do watch it, you'll still like, it's not like you're going to feel like you wasted your time. You know what I mean?
I'm just going to like say I agree. I didn't hear you because it just went static again. But yeah, I agree.
Okay. Well, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And we'll see you some other time.
One more thing. Actually, before we go, one thing I want to mention. Just want to give our friends a shout out. Our friends who are the Super Mario Brothers movie archive, who were on the podcast 1 or 2 episodes ago. They will have a screening of Mario Brothers in Oakland. And I don't have it on me right now, the exact address, but they're doing a special screening, and I think at the Oakland Technology Museum or Oakland
that's
Gaming Museum.
That's who it's sponsored by, those guys. It's actually at like a nightclub thing. I can't remember what it's called, but you can go to SMB. What's it? SMB. God, I just drew a blank on it. It's not
Archive.
Yeah, SMBarchive.com.
SMB.
And
SMBMarchive.com.
Yeah, the Super Mario Brothers archive, and there you'll find the information for it and so on. But it's on Sunday, and I think it starts at 5:00.
Yeah, so I know I'll be there Sunday, so yeah.
So yeah, if you're in the California area, the northern, western California area, come on by. See the Super Mario Brothers movie in theaters. It'll be awesome.
Yeah, they'll also have games. Actually saying they're trying to throw a real Mario Party. Only hopefully they don't do a chance time where it's just like, chance time! Get the fuck out! Leave!
Yeah, exactly.
Leave all your coins, all your money!
But yeah, good times to be had there. And then other than that, though, we'll take off from this episode, and then I'll probably pop in that other segment that we had from 2 weeks ago or something. Our little 20-minute part that we talked about in the beginning of like our conversation across, the sea, across the pond, actually, I might say. And we'll just leave off with that then. You
might hear a few jokes repeated because I didn't know we were going to put that up, but it's all good,
Sounds perfect. We'll cut to that.
Okay, alright. That took way too long. Before we get too into it, let's just get the show going. I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And I'm Spencer Scott Holmes, and welcome to the Old Man Orange Podcast.
Okay, it's no secret. If you listen to the show for a long time, it's no secret that we have, very bad blood with, Skype. If we're Batman and Robin, Skype is easily our joke. If we're Mario, Skype is easily our Bowser. So this fucking thing, it took us I'm currently out of the country right now, and I just wanted to get a podcast in there, and for whatever reason we just couldn't get it done. Now here's the thing: you could try and talk about technical stories as much as you want, and they always feel like such an accomplishment. It almost feels like you just took out a T-100 with a fucking sledgehammer. But at the end of the day, it was just fuck, this account doesn't work. All right, let me plug this one in. Let me plug that one in. God damn it, it always just feels like I just took on the fucking Terminator when you actually get it working.
Well, I will say there is something real special about that feeling you get when you pretty much get an electronic or a software program and you get it back in working order. You get this feeling of you totally got the ultimate accomplishment. You saved the world from annihilation, though it's really just your house and it's not that exciting, and the only person that cares about it's you and your friend. But at the end of the day, it's still something.
You're the guy, at the 0 hour, it's the red wire, the blue wire!
You gotta defuse the bomb, come on, we gotta do it now! Yeah, it's that same feeling of, the first time that you, mod a console, and I remember just doing that with my PSP back in the day, and it was just oh my gosh, the possibilities are endless! Because you're dude, now I can put Nintendo games on here, and Sega games, and PlayStation originals, and so on, and it has, that same feeling of, fixing your computer or something like that. And I think also when you fix your computer too, you get that I feel classic kind of dad feel of where yeah, I could do it myself. I didn't have to pay a guy to come on in here and do the plumbing or anything like that. I'm old man.
That's right, I just had to start up a new Skype account, change this around, change the password, and I roll up my sleeves for that one.
Yeah, I don't see why these guys get paid $75 an hour. I could just do it just like that. You get that over-accomplished feeling, too.
Well, literally, not, I don't know, a few episodes ago, we were talking about how you just go full, ape. 2001 Space Odyssey, the second technology's not working.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, I could hear you, but you couldn't hear me, so I imagine I just had to look like a monkey slamming, a recorder against a rock or some shit.
Well, let's get to the point where it's I can't do this. I gotta send you a message. There's no way, I can, pantomime your kind of, reactions in, a blurry Skype screen halfway around the world.
So what's going on right now? I'm not gonna go harp on this too much, but well, actually, 1 second, one moment. Sorry.
Okay, 1 moment. Sorry, something's going on. Something big. He's over in Ireland now, so you never know what could happen.
Okay.
And he's back.
So anyway, I'm back. Sorry about that. Anyway, so a little bit ago, actually about a year ago, my dad was diagnosed with cancer, and he went through the treatment, and things are looking good. So like, you know what? Let's go to Ireland. So that's what we did. Just went on a family. My mom, my dad, myself went over to Ireland, and just been here. I went to London first for 3 days. Going to be in Ireland for about 10 to 11 days altogether. Currently on day 3 of Ireland, so just doing that. So as far as movies have been going, I've been kind of out of the loop, but been doing some fun stuff over here. So yeah.
Well, it's like your dad's like, we need to go to the fatherland. We gotta go back. Come now, boy, quickly.
Where'd that accent come from, Dad? Don't question it!
I'm feeling the ancient winds roll through me. It's like, oh, Dad, I've never seen you this motivated before. He's like, we're going to Ireland! Grab your potatoes! Let's get out of here!
It was more like, we're going to Ireland! There's a bar. We'll stay here.
Yeah. You go do that thing where you talk on the computer and, try to make money. Oh, okay.
Not even that. It's like one of those things, well, it would be like, I'm not going to lie. I mean, when I come into both Ireland and London, I am all about, I would like to see more culture and more all that kind of thing, get myself a little more well-rounded, because I've never left the country before. This is the first time for me. But that being said, the first thing I look forward to is food. It's like, what fucked up food do they got here? So that's almost what it's becoming about. Like, let's find, what's this? I don't know. Let's see what this is. So it's avoiding like when we had to use to prepare an Airbnb. There's a weird last minute thing. We had to go and find Wi-Fi. Like, there's a taco place right here, and just order the Corona so we could use the Wi-Fi. And I'm like, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel right. But it is amazing when you hear like an Irish girl walk by. Oh, burritos walking by. One of the last things you expect to hear.
Well, it's like something you never hear in that accent. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, no, it's really awesome. We won't harp on it too long, but London actually. I want to say the actual going a little bit of order here. London. That was cool, but it was just kind of like a lot of stuff just trying to jam in there at once. Since, first off, everyone's mostly speaking English, it's one of those things where... I
can't understand a goddamn thing. They're all speaking English. Where's an American? I need a translator.
I need an American.
I need an American. I need someone who's got freedom in their blood.
What's this Jiffy on the spot shit?
There's a Native American over there. How'd he get this far? I don't know, but he's going to help me out. Lead me on. Lead me on. The guy's like, I'm from India. Oh, that you're the other Indian. Oh, you're not going to be able to lead me in the right place. Carry on.
Go about your ways.
God, I feel like Christopher Columbus now. I can't tell anything apart.
It all runs together.
That's all
just tear to the meat.
It's just another place. Well, Christopher Columbus is just like such like a shitty, like, what's the point? Just traveling out here. I was hoping I was going to die so I didn't have to go back to Spain.
Well, if you read his old journals, he sounds like he was a fucking dick. It just sounds like everyone's like, dude, give him the boat. At least he'll get the fuck out of here.
Oh, shit, he came back. Fuck. It's like, Bill, weren't you supposed to, or I guess not Bill. Jose, weren't you supposed to put a hole in that so that when he, went out about 4 days in, it would finally start to sink? Oh, yeah, about that. That was the
well, then I realized I'm on the boat too.
We didn't realize he was taking 3 of them, The fourth one, it sank in the harbor yesterday.
So slowly. We thought the hole would be a little bigger.
Yeah, I know it took like 8 months for it to sink, but still. And I know nobody seemed to notice it, I kind of thought it was starting to look shorter, but, I don't know. Who am I to judge?
I do like that thing with like, he's the guy who proved the Earth is round. I'm like, is he really? What about the Native Americans who got there first, or the Vikings that were going back and forth, fucking shit up for a while?
Well, I'm pretty sure the Vikings weren't like, you know what, this place is round. That wasn't like the goal of that trip, I don't think.
It wasn't the goal. I don't think they were questioning. I think they were just trying to appease the dragon god and just get their quota of like fucking and killing in for the day. But still, at the same time, I mean, you know.
Yeah, they thought they were hitting England too, and the next thing you know, it's like, man, this trip to England too is real long.
England too. But no. Anyway, it's kind of one of those things when you first get here. At first, it's like, okay, road signs and license plates look a little different. We're driving on the wrong side of the road, but beyond that, it's like, you know. But then you start to kind of notice some other things, like, oh, that's totally different. That's totally different. But London wasn't so much of that. London is kind of what I'd expect it was, you know, just a lot more kind of castles and older architecture, like how they got those buildings that kind of curve around whole blocks and all that, kind of like almost like a maze almost to some extent. I will say the one thing I do want to say, this is kind of funny. This is probably my favorite part of the London thing. We went on a rock and roll tour where this guy takes us on a bus, and I know it's very touristy and very cheesy, but it was fun. Went on a rock and roll tour where this guy would go off, like, you know, great rock bands of England, mainly London, of course, and go on a history of, you know, things that happened there. You know, of course, you got to cover the Beatles, the Stones, a little bit of Pink Floyd, the Clash, and Sex Pistols. So, a little bit of Who, not as much as the Who as I thought, but a little bit of the Who.
Led Zeppelin.
A lot of Eric Clapton. Yeah, so we went by a lot of, you know, old apartments of rock stars. Went by Jimmy Page's old apartment. The thing is, or his current apartment. It was one of those things I didn't really want to go looking at, like the current houses. Like, there he is. Just see like this creepy old like man peeking out of like this red diamond, like this red demon colored window. Just like looms back. Like, yeah, he's doing all the pagan shit in there. Don't mind him. But it was cool, kind of going. It was actually one of those things. Some of the shit I want to share, it was like, all right, you know, I can't get no satisfaction, and Mick Jagger's like talking about going down to Chelsea's and grabbing some cigarettes.
Did you go down to Chelsea's and grab some cigarettes? Get some fags?
Well, Chelsea is Chelsea's not this trip I didn't, but Chelsea's was a well-known drugstore over there, and he would talk about going to this drug. There's a particular one he had in mind that he would always go to. And the guy was like, we're on our way over there. He's like, so this is the one that Mick Jagger would always like to go to. And that inspired Johnny Rotten. And so Johnny Rotten liked to come here a lot. And that kind of got, in some way, the punk movement started through the Stones. Now it's a McDonald's!
That almost sounds like a funny story. It's like, wait, I say here, this is when Mick Jagger used to come down and get cigarettes, and just people like look out the window like, ooh, like, and then Johnny Rotten thought, hey, that's a place I could get cigarettes at too, and then he walked in there and said, hey, can I get a pack of fags? And he's like, you want a pack of fags? We don't sell fags anymore. What do you mean you don't sell fags anymore? Oh, we got a McDonald's here. Would you like a Big Mac? A fucking Big Mac? I don't want a Big Mac. I want a pack of cigarettes like it said in the Stones song. We don't got those no more. Would you like a milkshake instead? It's all American. Fuck America. We're not here for it. I want my cigarettes. And then I
want a pistol and I want sex. Oh,
well,
someone. Then Sid Vicious was around the corner,
like voices while he was doing it, because that'd be awesome if that was the case.
That would be awesome. No, he didn't, but he was very informative.
He didn't give you like the one man play. Oh. As I was saying before, what more happened on the rock and roll trip?
Well, apparently Bill Wyman has I don't know if the food's any good. We just stopped by for a second. Bill Wyman apparently has a restaurant called Sticky Fingers. Has a bunch of Stones memorabilia in there, like signed guitars, all that, and like pictures, he really likes to post up fucked up pictures of Mick Jagger where he's just drawn as a pair of lips. But he really likes that. I have like a book by Bill Wyman where he tells through just different cartoons and collections, and his favorites are the ones where it's Mick Jagger's just a pair of lips. So that must be something like he looks funny. But
it always makes me laugh when I look at Mick and I see that he's just a funny pair of lips.
He just stares at a picture of it, just slightly smiles. It's funny to me.
When you're eating there, did Bill Wyman come out and
British humor?
Be like, the Stones don't pay me nearly as much as you'd think.
Well, no, he doesn't come. He doesn't actually come out and serve you, but apparently his picture appears as a screensaver on all the computers there. So it's like, to get back to work kind of thing. Like, I'm watching you.
Don't you fucking forget it. Just Bill's watching, just like, it'd be like you're closing up and cleaning down everything and so on like that, and just like a Bill picture comes up and it like sort of follows you like a Haunted Mansion like poster or a picture.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if you heard me. I'm like expecting it to do like in the Bill Wyman restaurant. You like walk past the picture of his. It just does a Scooby Doo thing, like the eyes follow you.
Yeah, exactly. It just like it doesn't matter which direction you are. It's like he's always looking at you.
It's kind of like one of those creepy ass dolls. It was Stone's memorabilia in general, but a lot of it was Bill Wyman. It was like he retired, I think, 30 years ago from the Stones. He's like, I'm just going to open a restaurant for myself, and I didn't actually get a chance to even look at the menu. It just looked like kind of burgers and fries kind of stuff. But the thing about like when I was in London, a lot of it is kind of like somewhat what you expect, like that old like architecture that kind of reminds you you're in a different place, but then like, oh, there's an H&M, there's Bubba Gump's, there's an M&M store. So
really no different
you know what I mean?
Anywhere else in America, it seems like.
Kinda. I mean, you go around enough corners, you find like, oh, this seems legit. This seems cool. Like, I mean, you go around enough like corners. There's a lot of like, those kind of like alleyway markets where they're serving like a lot of old school British pubs and all that. That's cool. A lot of British food. We weren't in England that long. England was very much very, very, very touristy in the aspect of just us. We don't got a lot of time. Let's hop on a bus, try and get as much in as we can. And then Ireland's been taking more of our time and trying to see stuff and, just been kind of taking it easy to an extent, just trying to have some fun.
Well, it's probably like getting dropped off at San Francisco. It's almost like you think, the first time anyone's there, they always kind of go to like, let's go to Pier 39 and let's go to like Chinatown and so on. They don't realize that there's like, 4/5 of another city around it, that has a bunch of other really cool stuff that nobody ever seems to go to.
Exactly, and that's kind of what London was like. I mean, there's the obvious stuff, but you're looking long enough. We weren't there that long, so we couldn't look too hard. But if we looked long enough, we found some cool restaurants and some stuff that was a little out of the way. But the thing we're in Ireland right now, and we're at Galway, which is this cool coastal town, and I don't really know what other way to explain it, but it's like really, really fucking awesome here. It's just one of those things where I don't know. It's kind of like sort of what I imagine Ireland.
Thanks again for listening to the Old Man Orange Podcast. Sure, check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, cartoons, music, animation, and a whole lot more. We also have the Old Man Orange blog going with all kinds of fun stuff. If you easily want to support the show, use one of our Amazon links either on the website or in the description of the podcast below. Rate, review, and subscribe to the show either on Podbean, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Newgrounds, or anywhere else that you seem to get this podcast from. Grab the sitcom-styled comic book Pizza Boys on either Comix Central, Comixology, or Amazon. Want more podcasts? Check out the Indie Comics Club over at Comix Central. I also got a workout website called Thor's Hidden Gym, filled with fitness tips and tricks, videos, and a whole lot more fun stuff in the calisthenics world. Talk to us on Twitter at Spencer S. Holmes and Dunigan Ryan. Like our Facebook pages of Old Man Orange Productions and Pizza Boys Comic. Thanks again. We're out of here.